she of course was like, the idea she had about expanding the Sky Lounge, and she wanted to show him, and so she showed him everything, and he was like, of course he loved it, and she wants to hire him. So when he leaves, and when he leaves, Gwen tells her, you can't hire him. And she's like, oh no, Hudson's over that whole jealous thing, it's good. And Gwen says no. She's like, you can't hire him because the reason he got fired from Adora was because of the sexual harassment that he was accused of by multiple women. And the revamp that they're doing is just a cover for what happened. So the first thought in Elena's brain is she gets upset because Hudson didn't tell her. And then Gwen looks at her and she says, that's what bothers you the most? It's not that David did that to those women? And then she feels stupid, and I loved it. Because it was like, this has been the whole problem with your ass the whole time. You keep getting stuck on these little stupid things, and you won't look at the bigger picture. That should have been the first thought, not, he didn't tell me. It should have been like, whoa, like, dude was violating people like that? You know what I mean? So that was the thing that she didn't see that. And then, she's like, after that, she goes to go look at the new space because they're going to be, the place is next door, and there's like this door that they can take to go right over to it. That's the reason it'll be a great thing for the expansion. So she goes into space and she hears footsteps, and then everything goes black. Then the book goes back to Hudson. And he's like, he's been calling her phone, can't get her. So he's like, oh, she's really trying to torture me. She's pissed. Because he figured, I'll get home, we're going to fight about it, but then, they get to do the fun part, they get to make up. And so he's trying to call her, can't get her. So this isn't normal. So then he calls the club, asks the people at the club, like, have you seen her? And they're like, no, she's not here. And he's like, well, what time did you come in? She's like, well, I came in at 6, but she wasn't here. So he's starting to panic, like, wait a minute, something's going on. So he calls the security guy that was supposed to be watching her on her detail. And he's like, oh, she went up to the office. She hasn't came out yet. I'm still waiting for her. So he says, go up to the office and check and see if she's there. He goes up. Of course, she's not there. And he's like, I don't know how she could have got past me. There's no other way to get out. Like, I don't know what could have happened. So now we got to alert Jordan, head of security. What's going on? We got a problem. So now they're really trying to figure out, okay, what the hell is going on? And so they're like, Jordan's like, do you want me to get the police involved now? Or like what? He's like, just give me a little bit of time. And he was like, I hope he made the right decision with doing that. So then it goes back to Elena's perspective. She wakes up groggy and she feels sick. And David's there with a bucket for her to throw up. And her brain didn't register what had happened. She was just like, oh, I'm so glad David was here to like give me a bucket. Bitch ain't even thinking about why the fuck, like, where am I? Then slowly but surely the brain starts to process, and she's like, wait a minute. And then she realizes it. So it was David ass the whole time that was sending these these damn letters. So he crazy, like literally crazy. He's sitting up there telling her that, he know they're supposed to be together. He's been waiting so long for this to happen. He had to take his opportunity when he saw, that she was alone. And I noticed when he came earlier and he made the statement like, oh, Hudson still, Pierce or something like that, still has the bodyguards on you. And I'm like, well, why would somebody say that, But she was thinking it was from years ago where she had security up because of the Celia situation. And not thinking it's because he's been watching you, sweetie. This is why he knew that. So he tells her they're going to be together. She's like, well, I have babies. And he's like, well, you need to forget about them. He's like, because they're a part of him. And if they're a part of him, they can't be a part of our new lives. He's poison. And anything that comes from him is poison. Like, he's like, we'll have our own babies. This man was whole ass deranged. I was like, whoa. So she's trying to figure out a way, like, how the hell am I going to get out of this? So she tells him, she's like, oh, I want to be fresh for you. Like, I need to take a bath. And he's like, I don't care about that. And she's like, but you want me to wash off Hudson, don't you? And then he's like, yeah, I do want you to wash him off. And he's like, good, you're starting to come around. Do you really think this woman's finna come around that fast? I'm like, come on, dude, use your brain. So then he's like, that's not working because he's still not really budging. So then she says, I need a lot of stuff if I'm going to get, made up for you. I can go to the store. He ain't finna let you go to a store. So then she says, well, can you go? I can write down the stuff and will you go get it? And he's like, okay, I can do that. So at first she was trying to think of a way to use the pen as a weapon, but she didn't come up with nothing that was legit because he had a whole gun. Because when she wouldn't kiss him, he pulled a gun out. So I was like, damn. So then he sees her fidgeting with her wedding ring. And he's like, you need to take that off. And she's like, oh, I'm just so used to it. It'll feel weird not to have it. He's like, I don't care. You need to take it off. He's like, and if it's not off by the time I come back, I'm going to chop your finger off. I said, oh, he a whole ass sadistic. Oh, he's sadistic. He crazy. He crazy for real, for real. So after that, he goes to go get whatever, goes to the store. And so then it goes back to the perspective of Hudson. And then Hudson starts to kind of think like, he's looking through these journals, but it's like, this isn't it. Like, it's like, I'm missing something. And he's like, where's that journal that you had of Elena? Because they keep journals, of every one of their, well, she does keep a journal of every one of the conquests. And when she pulled it out and he read it, he realized it's David. And so that's when he got on the phone, told Jordan it's David Lent. So they started looking at his stuff, looking at his finances, trying to figure out. And they finally got like some footage where they could see that he was in a car and it was her in the car, but she looked like out of it. Like she was, unconscious. And so they found like there was this $48,000 withdrawal. And so at first they were like, well, where do you get that from? And they're like, no, he lived a really, simple life. He didn't spend money, so he saved a lot. So then they find out the money went to the woman that's the head of the admissions at the school, the New Park Elementary School. And he's like, what the hell? So they go bamming on that woman's door. And she, of course, is pissed. And she's talking about calling the cops and everything. And he's like, listen, I just need to know why this man paid you $48,000 because I think he has my wife. And she's like, oh, well, I don't want to be inaccessible to a crime, So she apparently sells real estate as well. And so he had told her, David had told her he wanted to find like a nice cottage away from everyone, for him and his new bride. And he said he's never been married. David's never been married. He has my wife. So she gives him the address. It's someplace up in Lake Placid. So she gives him the address, and then she tries to bargain, but she had already gave him the address because this is the same woman. She had kicked out Mirabelle's daughter from that school out of some club because Sophia had showed up at some function and was drunk and caused a scene. So she took it out on the kid, right? And that was another reason why, as well, with her doing that, he got her kicked out of the country club. Hudson did. So she wanted him to get her back into the country club, but she had already given him the address, and he was like, you should have bargained before you gave me the address. He's like, I wouldn't dare let you back in. And so he leaves. They get a helicopter. They get up there, and when they get there, they see David's car, and they don't see Elena in the house. And then they finally see David, and he was about to kill David. Like, he wanted to murder him. Jordan had to stop him because he was going to kill that man. And then his phone starts ringing, and Hudson answers the phone, and it's Elena, and she's like, I love you and the babies. Tell the babies I love them, because she's thinking she's dying. So then she wakes up and she's in the hospital. We find out what happened. So thankfully she did listen to that story from Gwen from the sex club. Because that's how she was able to like get from out of the duct tape. And then she took the chair and she bust the window and she got out. So she got a bunch of scrapes on her. Her rib is broke. Different things. So she's messed up. But when they found her, she of course was passed out. But that's why she called him. She got made it to like a phone. Well, no, let me say it correctly. She had I don't know how this man left his phone. Like, I don't even understand that. But because it was bad reception in the mountains, that's why I think he thought she can't call anybody. But she took that phone and she ran until she could get, some type of reception. And that's when she called Hudson. And so Hudson, of course, he blames himself. He can't help it. That's just what's going to happen. She can tell him all day long, it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself. But that's just how he feels. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is right now. And so she's in the hospital a couple days. That's pretty much what happened there. Of course, he gives her the passwords to everything. He wants her involved in everything to just ease her mind. Like, we're a team. It's just us. Pretty much us against the world. And that's how he wants to keep it. No more secrets. No more nothing. So that is how the book ended. It was a climatic, really cinematic ending, I thought. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Tell me what you guys thought of this series in itself, also of the ending. We're gonna dive into another series. Either the end of this week, we're gonna dive into another one. I'm gonna surprise you with the name. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments in the discussion board. Any questions you have, leave them there or leave them in the what is it called? Comments. Had a mind fart right then. As always, thank you so much for your support and tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.